Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us as we continue to tell your story. Now, this month is Youth Month, as you may know, and it is a time when we recognize the importance of our young people and the role they play in society. 2019 has also been declared the Year of Indigenous Languages, and many young South Africans are multilingual and they use at least 2 languages a day. The Literacy Association of South Africa focuses on youth and multilingualism in its annual conference that is titled Masifunde Ditale, Literacy and Language in a Multilingual World, which will be held at the University of Cape Town from the 12th to the 14th of July this year. Catherine Langsford is the Vice Chairperson of the Literacy Association of South Africa, and she joins me now in studio for more. Because we use the languages, can I say, what should I say? Good afternoon, goeiemiddag.
Say the whole lot.
Goeiemiddag, goeiemiddag. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on SA today. Now, let's start with the title of the conference. As I said, Masifunde Ditale, a mix of Afrikaans and Xhosa there, but also talking about literacy and language in a multilingual world. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so the conference really is a celebration of the blend of languages that we have, not only in this country, but across the world. And we really want to celebrate the number of languages that there are and the fact that they don't live in isolation, that we blend them, we mix them, that they work together. But the literacy aspect we also really want to draw on, that it's not only about being able to speak languages, it's also about how we teach them and how do we teach them well so that children can use them in their everyday lives for particular purposes.
And I said on my introduction that young people in South Africa, they use more than 2 languages a day. What's the status quo of the use of languages in South Africa, more so your indigenous languages, because this year we're focusing on indigenous languages?
Yeah, so there's a very strong recognition of home languages, African languages particularly, and that children in their first 3 years of school are meant to learn those languages as their primary language, and then an additional language is added. So that's where the multilingualism comes in. But what we find in reality is that children come to school already with so many linguistic resources, they speak so many languages, many of them are learning a language at school as their home language that is not in fact their home language. So it's a really interesting mix. And part of what we want to do at the conference this year is to challenge the idea that monolingualism is the norm or that monolingualism is the way to go. And we really want to celebrate multilingualism as the reality of life in South Africa.
Yeah, indeed. And we know, of course, that the world is being driven by technology. We're talking about the 4th Industrial Revolution. How will the conference, sort of integrate these new realities that we have now?
So it's a hot topic, and it's definitely on everyone's lips, and we do recognize the importance of building skills for the digital economy and for the world of the future. And many of our presentations and a lot of the work at the conference is looking at how we can prepare children with the skills that they need to exist in that digital economy. But, and it's a big but, our problems are far more fundamental than that, and South Africa is facing a literacy crisis, and it's something that we desperately need to work on. And so a lot of the work that we do at the conference is to look at the more basic needs and the programs and the work that's being done and implemented in schools and in after-school programs to see what works, what doesn't work, and how we can develop children to have those skills that they need for a digital economy, because we're really not there. We've got a long way to go.
Yeah, I remember one study that indicated that we're not a reading nation.
Not at all. In fact, there's a study that says 78% of our grade 4 learners can't read for meaning. Yeah. So in other words, they can't understand anything that they read. Yeah. And as the President indicated in the SONA speech, education is critical, and we absolutely have to be working with learners so that their literacy skills are strong and that they are able to read before they leave school.
What could be the problem? Is it an issue of language barriers, that yes, I am able to read English, but I don't really get to understand and get the sense of what I'm reading?
It's a really complex problem, and there are many, many factors. The fact that we're not a reading nation, that children are not growing up reading from birth or from before they reach school is one issue. Also, the teachers and the quality of teaching in the majority of schools is a challenge. And also the issue of teaching African languages that's been so underdeveloped for such a long time that we really now, and this is a lot of the work that we do at the conference, is we're trying to understand how to teach African languages well. And we want to challenge that idea that English is the predominant language, and that the way that we teach English is the way that we should teach African languages.
It is indeed true, because learners who don't speak English as a home language, they're often seen as disadvantaged and lacking in knowledge, for example. But how do we go about changing that mindset?
Well, I think there is a strong move, and particularly in UNESCO declaring this the Year of Indigenous Languages, I think we need to change hearts and minds and attitudes about how we see multilingualism. That in fact it's the norm, and it's something to celebrate and not a problem that we need to manage. And I think that there is an education element to it, but there's also in the media and social media even, we need to begin to accept seeing other languages other than English or more predominant languages.
But the role that we can play as parents, I mean, I think we can also play a significant role. Instead of talking to my son in English, I can speak to him in Setswana or Sesotho.
Definitely, and not seeing one language as better than the other, but promoting all of them and mixing between languages, but also reading to children is incredibly important. So not only getting English books, but getting books in other languages as well, and showing that just as reading in English is important, it's also important to read in Sesotho or isiZulu, any of the languages.
So back to the conference, really, talk to us about who is likely to attend, and perhaps there may be some people watching this interview and would want to attend. How do they go about doing that?
Yeah, so the conference is open to a very wide range of people. We have academics and researchers, we have people from NGOs, teachers, government officials are there. So it's a really, really wide range. Students. If people would like to find out more, they can have a look at our website, which is litasa.org.za. So that's litasa.org.za. And you'll find out all the information there. And also you can find out about us on social media. So our handle is @literacyasocsa across all. Yeah, so the registration for the conference is actually closed, but we're very happy to squeeze a few last people in if they can register by the end of this week.
So this is the 14th one, this is the 14th edition. Let's just reflect on the successes of the previous ones, and really what are you hoping to achieve with this particular one?
The conference has been phenomenal. It's really, as it's grown, it's drawn more and more people, more diverse groups of people, and people are really using it as an opportunity to showcase their work. So that's our primary way of knowing what people are doing in the industry or in the field. What we'd like to do is definitely to grow the conference, but also to see smaller languages or less popular languages being represented, and also smaller organizations showing us the work that they're doing and the resources that they're producing.
So I suppose bodies such as your PANSALB, they're also part of the conference?
We have a range of people, yes, and we'd like more and more to get involved. So all the National Library and the Centre for the Book and PANSALB, we'd love for all of them to join us. Some people are, and some people weren't able to join us this year.
Yeah, I know that the Literacy Association was previously called the Reading Association. The change is really from being called the Reading Association to the Literacy Association. Why? Because I think you are looking at expanding your mandate.
Definitely. It's a small change, but it's a really big change at the same time. We realized that focusing only on reading was very limiting, because we now understand literacies to be far wider terms. So that includes reading literacy and writing. It also includes digital literacy, visual literacy, people who have disabilities and don't have the same modes of developing their literacy, all forms of literacy. And so we really wanted to reflect that, and a change in understanding of what literacy means. We wanted to reflect that in our name change as well.
All right, we'll leave it at this for now. Thank you so much for coming through.
Great.
And all the best with the conference on the 12th.
Thank you.
All right, well, you have it. Catherine Langsford is the Vice Chairperson of the Literacy Association of South Africa, talking to us about this important conference. As I said on my introduction, that 2019 has been declared the Year of Indigenous Languages.